Okay. So in the previous class we studied direct shear test, right? And we solved few problems. And as promised, today I'll be solving problems, or we'll be discussing problems on triaxial test and unconfined compression test. So far, I hope you are well versed with all these tests. You must have seen lots of videos on problems as well as the theory. Okay. So coming to the problems on unconfined compression test. So again there are two types. Okay, so it's like a small or a younger brother of triaxial test. The sample is not confined. Confined means if this is any material or any sample. So right now it's open to atmosphere, there is no pressure to it. Okay, so the pressure all around it is atmospheric pressure. If on the sides, that means lateral direction, this is lateral direction, I confine it. So I put some pressure on it. Now in this case it's my pressure from the hand. In your soil, if it's a soil sample under the ground, so that element will have pressure from the soil besides it. In the test, in the triaxial test, we'll have a sample and we'll put some lateral pressure, lateral confinement using water. Because we'll put some rubber membrane so that water will not mix into the soil, and we'll put some pressure. In this test, unconfined, we don't have confinement, so the sample is open. So it's simply like a test on concrete. You have done compression test on concrete. It's same for soil. So we'll have a sample like this, a cylindrical sample, and we'll put load on it, axial load, just like a concrete, and it will fail. We'll measure the load. That's it. This is a simple test we have. Now again there are two types here. One, this is generally if you see, if it's a sandy soil, you cannot keep the sample unconfined. That sample or the sand will always require some confinement. So generally we go for triaxial test if you want to know some properties more of sand. So we have a sand here, we'll put some rubber membrane so it can hold up. Okay, but in this unconfined compression test, we don't have confinement. That means what type of soil we can test? Can anyone guess? Yes, we can only do this for clayey soil or any C5 soil which has more of clay. So it can hold itself vertical. So this is what we have. So if you see its diagram, so imagine we have a sample like this, a cylindrical shape. I'm enlarging it. Generally it is very in centimeters. Okay, so I'll put load here. There is no confinement here, so it will break. So if you see, generally the sample will fail in this pattern, shearing, and that is the failure angle. Theoretically that is a failure angle. We call it alpha. As you know the formula, alpha equals to 45 plus 5 by 2. So once this sample is tested, it's failed, we can measure this using a protractor. Now if it's a pure clay soil, if it is a pure clay soil, what is the value of phi? It is 0, right? So you put this value in here. So what is the value of alpha here? So value of alpha is 45 degrees. If it's a pure clay soil, you will find it that the sample will fail at 45 degrees. If it's not a pure clay soil, it is a C5 soil, then your alpha is not 45, it will be something higher than 45. So from that you can find phi. Let's say my alpha is, if you measure the alpha here and it comes out to be 55. So my alpha is 55. So what should be by phi? If my phi is 20, this equation is satisfied. That means my phi value is 20. You got this? So this is the basics of this test. Okay, so there are two ways, either C soil or C5 soil. Mostly it will be used for only C soil. Okay, if you have a site, in general why we require these values for the shear strength parameters. In the next semesters you will be studying what is bearing capacity. So I don't know if you have experienced this or worked under a consultant or done an internship. For example, we have a site and you have to construct a building on it. Okay, so what is the first step? If you go to the architect, he can give you the plan. If you go to the structural design, he can give you the structural design of the building. What is the size of beams, columns, accordingly. But for that, he will ask you one value of the soil. Does anyone know what is that value? Yes, it is SBC, safe bearing capacity of that soil or that foundation, how much it can take load. For that, you have to go to a geotechnical engineer, and what he will do, he will go to the site, he will take some samples or he will do some tests which will give you shear strength of that soil, and from that shear strength we can find bearing capacity. So that next semester we will study it, but for that we require shear strength, so that is the input of that. So that finding that input we are doing in this semester. How to find that input? If it's a clay soil, generally we will go for unconfined compression test. If it is a C5 or a sandy soil, we can go for direct shear test. If it's a higher, this is for like a small or a medium scale construction. If it's a very huge construction, big projects, generally you should better go for triaxial test, or directly instead of going for the lab, you have to go to the field test. So you can go for vane shear test in the field, plate load test, and all those things. That also you will be studying in the next semester. Okay, so this is why we are doing this test. This is for you understanding. This is very important. We are not just doing any lab test for fun. All those values have some value, so you should be very precise and very accurate to get these values. Always remember, we cannot have very accurate values. So as far as possible, you refer the codes and try to do the test as rigorous as possible and sticking to the code. So you will not get accurate value, but at least you will have some standard procedure done, so you can compare it with these other theories. So this is what we have. So accordingly, these are the two soils. So let's come to the Mohr circle. How must be the Mohr circle? So generally this is major, so it is sigma 1. This side is sigma 3 lateral, and perpendicular to the board it is sigma 2. But as you see, sigma 2, sigma 3, they both are same, so we just take sigma 3. Okay, sigma 2 is there. You may have this question, where is sigma 2? Sigma 2 and sigma 3, they both are same, but that's why we are taking directly sigma 3. They will overlap. Okay. Now, how is the Mohr circle for this? I can draw it here. So x-axis is sigma, y-axis is tau. As you saw in the previous class, you have to plot sigma 1 and sigma 3 here. How will you plot? What is the value of sigma 3 in this case? It is unconfined. Sigma 3 value is 0. It will start from here. You apply some 100 stress and it fails. So the sigma 1 is 100. That's it. You find a circle, draw a Mohr circle. Next input what you have or what you want is phi. And this is alpha value. Now, even to go to phi, another thing you can also do with this is alpha. So I'll tell you, this is alpha. How much is it? 45. So it will go and touch this point. And this point from this center is always 2 alpha. So 2 into alpha is 90, you will have this point. So this is your failure point. And how much is your phi? 0. So we'll draw a line. So this phi is 0. So you'll have your C. Got it? And this C itself is your shear strength, right? Now come to the C5 soil. Same procedure, you will have some sigma 1. Sigma 3 is always 0, so your Mohr circle will start from origin. Now your alpha is not 45, it is 55. So it will be touching here somewhere. If you take from the center 2 alpha, it will touch somewhere. Okay, what next data you have? Phi, right? So to draw a line which is, if you draw it like a tangent to this point, to this circle, you will get your phi, and this point is C. So you can see this C is different and this C is different. So the C value will decrease a little bit. Okay, so this is the main difference. Again, from the direct shear test, we have solved the problems. You have similar problems in this case also. So either they will give you the failure conditions, then you have to find sigma 1, sigma 3, or sigma 1, sigma 3 will be given to you, alpha is given to you, you have to find C value. Practically in the lab, what you have is this. You will get, you know, this value is 0, so no question, you will have this value from the loading machine. So this load divided by the area will get sigma 1. So this is the loading stress which you plotted here, sigma 1. So here sigma 1 is the loading stress. So if the sample, you are putting load and for 100 kilonewton it failed. So 100 kilonewton divided by the area of that sample, you will get the stress. So that is that stress, sigma 1. After failing, you will get this angle alpha. So you have values of sigma 1, alpha and sigma 3. So with these 3 values, you can solve the problem or you can complete the test. So nothing else is required. So with this, you can solve the problems. I'll give you an example. You just check what values are given. I'll write it here again. So sigma 3 is 0. You always keep in your mind sigma 1 should be given and alpha or phi is given. Generally, alpha is given. Okay, I'll read a problem for you. From there, you can understand. A cylinder of soil fails under an axial vertical stress. A cylinder of soil, that means the shape of that sample is a cylindrical shape. Under an axial vertical stress. Axial means along its axis, vertical axis, and the stress is 160 kPa. So what value they have given you? Sigma 1. Okay. When it is laterally unconfined, so which test is it? Same test. So laterally unconfined means it is unconfined compression test. Another thing I would like to discuss here is the word compression. We know that soil fails under shear, concrete under compression, steel in tension. Then if soil is the main important parameter or important failure is shear stress, then why do we call this test as compression? If you look at the names, direct shear test, vane shear test, triaxial compression test, unconfined compression test. So the last two we are talking about compression. Does it mean that we are worried about compression of this soil? No. The basic or the hidden word behind this is indirect. So if you see direct shear test, what does the word direct mean? Because you are directly finding out the shear parameters. That's why it is saying direct shear test. But in case of unconfined, you are indirectly finding out the shear. the strength. So it is kind of, we can name it indirect shear test or unconfined compression test. Finding out compression indirectly to get the shear. Ultimately, we always want shear parameters of the soil. Okay. Now coming back to the question, the next data is the failure plane makes an angle of 50 degrees with the horizontal. So what value is given? The failure plane makes an angle of 50 degrees with the horizontal. So alpha value is given. So sigma 1 is given, alpha is given, sigma 3, as you know, laterally unconfined is 0. We can solve the problem. You can follow the steps as we discussed and you can solve it. So in the book it has been solved using analytical methods, using some formulae. You can also do that. If you remember 2 formulas, you can solve any type of question. Okay, the formulas are related to sigma, tau, c, phi, sigma 1 and sigma 3. So it rotates around these 6 parameters. I repeat, sigma tau, the failure condition, sigma and tau, sigma 1 and sigma 3, the principal stresses, and c and phi, what we want. This is what it revolves around. So the 2 formulas we already have discussed. You can always solve using those formulae also, but solving graphically will make your basics more clear. Okay, that's why you try to solve all the problems using graphical methods, but simultaneously keep some touch to the analytical formulae also. Okay, so should we go for the next question? Okay, in the next question everything is same except the area correction. So there is only one thing which is focus here, is area correction. So in all the samples, in all the tests, the area will change. The cross sectional area is continuously changing. For example, it's not concrete. It won't change under loading. Okay, it will change, but before it changes much, it will crack and it will burst. It's brittle, right? But in soil, it's not the case. It's kind of elastic, plastic, elastoplastic. So it's a complicated material. So it will not crack. So what will happen? Just try to imagine you'd have a ball of clay in your hand or any cylinder. You make a clay of this shape and you try to press it. What will happen? In the sense of its shape, if it's a thin cylinder now, what will happen if you try to compress it? This will break. But what about soil? Just imagine the china clay you played in your childhood. So this was the material. If you put some load, what will happen? So this was this initial length. So it will go down a little bit, and it will bulge, right? It will keep on bulging until it cracks. So as you see now, this was the initial cross sectional area. Here the cross sectional area has changed. Understood? So this is what we have to target. So as a good experimental person, you have to look at the minute details. What is happening to the sample? So for finding stress, we are taking load upon area, but actually the area is not constant. So it is changing. So we have to consider that changing area also. So your stress will go on changing because the area is also changing. So that is the area correction, and it all depends upon the strain. So we will not discuss here. Its formulas are given. If you have interest, you can go and look at the detail of that area correction formula, how it came. At your level, generally we don't expect from you, but you can always go and refer how that formula came into place. Okay, the area correction formula. Okay, so unconfined compression, any doubts? I hope it's all clear. Anything, you can always contact us. Okay, so Wayne shear test, as we discussed earlier in the previous classes, will not focus here because it has just two formulae and already too much of attention is given to it in the previous videos. So here we'll move on to with the triaxial test. Okay, so this is the most complicated, most reliable, most useful test in soil mechanics. Why? Can anyone answer why? Especially why is it more reliable? Okay, so whatever test you have seen here, are we simulating the field conditions? For example, this is the field and you are going to construct your building here. Let's say it's a big high-rise building, so you are going deeper and deeper to get more strength of the soil. Now, I want to check a soil sample which is, let's say, 10 meters below the ground. This is ground. So I want to check this soil sample which is 10 meters below the ground. So as an experimental engineer, your task is to simulate the field conditions as much as possible, because if I take a sample from the field and test in the lab, it won't behave the same, right? Like you don't behave the same in your home as well as in your institute. Along with friends you are different, along with your parents you are different, but actually who you are is in your home. That is a indigenous characteristic, I can say. When you go outside, your characteristics change. You are good to some friends, you are not good to some friends, you are not the same as with your brother and your friends. So your all properties change, but actually who are you know. So along with in different conditions you change. Similarly, this soil, this is its like intrinsic and indigenous property here. So what is property of this? We call it its structural arrangement. So this has been staying here for so many years. So this soil around it is its neighbor, so it is accustomed to its neighbor. There can be some water table rising up, rising down. Again it is habituated to that water table and all other things. Now if I go down there, take a sample from there and bring to the lab, do you think they both are same? No. What is missing here? The confinement is missing, right? Even though you have, so inside structure, let's say they are packed, let's say it's sitting here like this in the field. Now I'm going and taking the sample as it is and bringing it to the lab. So here also it is sitting here the same because I am not changing it. So its structural arrangement I am not changing, it's the same. But what we have removed is its confinement pressure. So here its confinement pressure is missing. Even though it is sitting the same, the structural arrangement is same. So in geotechnical terms, its voids ratio is same, its water content is same, everything is same. But the confinement is missing. So to do this confinement or to put under the same condition, what should I do? Do you think in unconfined compression test we do? No. We just test it under no neighbors. But in triaxial it is possible. That's why it is more reliable. So in triaxial test what do? We take the sample, we put it into a chamber. So it's not floating actually. So I'll just draw. So this is a sample. So we put this into the chamber. We fill this with water. And how much pressure it is acting at this point, the same pressure we can put it here. So you might have seen, like in the olden days, how we pressurize your tire, how we put air into your tire. Have you seen using those pumps? Same mechanical system can be used to put pressure into this water also. Like you put some connection here and you put some pressure. So this water will be under pressure. So if this water is under pressure and this boundary is rigid, so this will try to apply pressure on this sample. It cannot put pressure on this, even though it is putting pressure, but it will not deform. But here it is putting pressure, so it can deform. Okay, so you have to find how much pressure is it. It's here 200 kPa, 300 kPa. You can find it out. So this unit weight of this soil by this height, you can get the rho GH. Do you remember this? The fluid mechanics. Okay, so from that formula you can find out the pressure. Same you can put it here. Now this is what you have is sigma 3, same as in the field. Now in this sample everything is the same, right? So here also it's sigma 3 and along the perpendicular of sigma 3. So that sample is being pressurized with sigma 3 from all the directions and also the vertical. So this is what you have created a situation in the lab which is same as the field. Got it? There is another method which is very advanced for you. You just remember the word, call it centrifuge modeling. It's a big setup. So it tries to rotate and it works on with the gravity. So it increases the gravity and it tries to simulate the field condition which is very huge. So you can, for example, I have to check the sample which is at 20-30 meters deep. So that much of pressure you cannot create into the lab. So that we have some special arrangements. In India, I think it's with IIT Bombay. No other institute has it. So they can do this test. Okay. But for our level, it's not that important. This is enough. Now we have to test it. So everywhere is sigma 3 as in here. Now we have to test it. What we will do, we will take this and put it in the loading machine. So this is my loading machine. So this is my proving ring, if you remember. I'll put the load. So even if just I'll take 2 minutes, what is the loading machine? So it doesn't load from the top actually. So it holds it there and this bottom part it tries to push upwards. I don't know if you have thought about this, but loading machine doesn't mean that we apply load from the top. Nothing is coming down. It will stay as it is. This part we are pushing it upwards. So ultimately this is the reaction being produced and we see from the top. Okay. Actually we are pushing it from the bottom. Okay. Now, what is this load which we are giving? You go back to the UCS test. So this is nothing but your sigma 1. So if I draw a line diagram, this is my sample, sigma 3, sigma 3, sigma 3, sigma 3. I am putting a load, sigma 1, sigma 1. Okay. Now this sigma 1 is always higher than this. So this sigma 1 minus sigma 3 is delta sigma. In this triaxial test we call it as a deviator stress. So this is where the deviator stress comes into picture. Henceforth you can solve the problems. It's all easy. Once you know what is deviator stress, generally we have to take into picture this deviator stress, sigma 1, sigma. This will be given. From that you will know what is sigma 1. Okay. So what you get in the field is actually this in the lab. So from that you have to come back to get sigma 1 and then draw the more circles. So it's a reverse process. It's very important to understand it. Okay. Okay, another important condition is the drainage conditions. So we didn't discuss much about this. So what you know is drained and drained. Drained means what? We are allowing the water from that sample to pass out. So it is a drainage condition. If we close the outlet of that sample, so water will not go out. Now even after you load, the water will not go out. So in that case it will be undrained conditions. Another case is what we have is consolidated and unconsolidated. For example, we have to simulate this condition in the field. Okay. Now you prepare a sample and you put into it. Now it's a fresh sample. It has not been loaded under. This sample, it has been loaded under this soil for many years. So it has consolidated. It has consolidated. So it has changed its structure. But this is a fresh sample. For example, this soil is sitting under this load. It has sitting now. But this soil sample is now just standing up because it's fresh. There is no load from the top before also. I am a fresh. So to make it sit just like that, we have to consolidate. So we have to put some load. Okay. So what they do before testing, what they do before putting this sigma 1 or delta sigma, under this sigma 3 they try to put that sample under some time until it consolidates. So inside water should go out, it will consolidate, and when it's the same position of this and this, the same structure, then you start loading it. So that is called consolidated test. So when you will test this sample when it is sitting like the same in the field. So this is that is also consolidated, and I am also consolidated. So I am doing consolidated test on this sample. Sometimes if you don't have time, what you do? It is sitting, I am standing. So it is consolidated, I am unconsolidated. So I can test the standing sample also. So in this case, it will be called as unconsolidated test. So we don't consolidate. So that is unconsolidated. This is consolidated. So these are the differences. If you go, you can find drained, undrained, consolidated, unconsolidated, and the combination of this. So basically, we have three main, and we test on it. Some tests are quick for sand, so we go for directly drain test. So we don't keep it undrained. But if you go for undrained test, it will take some time. And when you check undrained test, you can measure pore water pressure. For example, you block this, the water cannot go outside. So the water is building up some pressure. So you make some arrangement here, and this can measure U, the pore water pressure. So once you can measure that U here, so you have sigma U total pore, you can find out effective. So whenever you can measure pore water pressure, only in that case you can find out effective stress parameter. So there are two types here. One is total stress parameter, C and phi. Another is effective stress parameter, which is C dash and phi dash. So this is in the problems which we have solved, you will find this total and effective. It all depends upon the U. If you can measure U, pore water pressure, which can happen only in undrained condition test, you can find this. So if you want the effective stress parameters, which are very helpful in the analysis and design, you should always go for undrained test where you can measure pore water pressure. Okay, so with this we will stop. If possible, we will continue in the next video. So far we have covered all the numericals from unit 4 and unit 5. So we can say that we can declare the syllabus is over. Theory part has been conducted by Professor Kirti and Professor Vijay Desai sir. Problems I have covered. First 3 units I have already covered. So this was our attempt by taking online classes and this video capturing sessions to cover unit 4 and 5. So almost we have around 15 to 20 videos now. We have already conducted assignments, course activities has been given to you. IA internal exam has already been finished. So in this COVID situation, your final semester exams are being scheduled, and you will know this schedule or the timetable 1 month before. So you'll get enough time to prepare. Till then, if you have any doubts, you can always call us. Okay. So with this we stop. Good luck.